Welcome to footballgameplan.com, where football makes sense. That's Cesar Playbook Emery Hunt, and I'm Tyler Merkovich, and we're bringing you an FCS preview on the Southland Conference. And let's start out with the Bears of Central Arkansas. Clint Conkey, 10th year, 10-2 last season, 6 coming back on offense, 9 on defense. Robbie Park versus Nate Dick for the starting quarterback job. First team right tackle Lane Freewold is back, and Brent Grimes, their running back, Grimes had 18 touchdowns last year.
Well, you got to look at the offense going to go through Grimes as they look to fill the void of Nathan Brown, who is a prolific passer for Central Arkansas. The question is, can Park fill that void? I don't think it's even a competition between him and Dick from Arkansas. I think he's going to win that hands down. But can he fill a void? Can he be that playmaker that Nathan Brown was? But whoever gets that quarterback spot is going to have Willie Landers, big play receivers, 700 yards, 7 touchdowns. So that's going to help them out a lot. And the most important thing is they're going to have the continuity on the offensive line. It's going to help out the quarterback as well as the running back. I look for them to gain. You look for Brent Grimes to gain his 1,000 yards, 1,500 yards, because they're going to lean on him a little bit more until they get the quarterback situation straightened out.
He's an explosive player. Nate Dick, of course, as he mentioned, Razorback transfer from Arkansas to Central Arkansas. They bring back a Tulsa transfer, C.J. Shatton, their running back also, and Nick Cowger is going to pave the way for Grimes. So they have some depth at running back. Second team, defensive end, Taylor Scott is back, and defensive player of the year on the other side, defensive end, Larry Hart had 12 sacks and 9 tackles for loss. And second team All-League selection, their linebacker, James Lancaster, 10 stops behind the line of scrimmage.
Well, linebackers are all real solid. Lancaster is a dynamite playmaker. He lives on the other side of that offensive line. I like linebackers that could do that. You also look at the fact that Anthony Gamble's the cornerback, 12 pass breakups, so he can get his hands on a lot of balls. And that defensive line with those sacks that they generate, from Hart, that's key. That's going to help that whole defense out. And I like the fact that they returned 9 starters, so you're going to see that defense improve over what they did last season.
Let's move over to Texas State Bobcats, where Brad Wright had them 8-5 last year, 8 returning on offense, 5 on defense. You might know about this kid. He's a YouTube sensation. Their wide receiver, Meshach Rivas. He's their main receiver who returns. Carrington Bush, though, he's the tailback, over 1,000 yards, almost 8 yards per carry, and 11 touchdowns. And I know you like their quarterback, Bradley George, and they bring back a right guard who's second-team All-League, DJ Hall.
Bradley George, 26 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, phenomenal quarterback. He's the leader of that team. Carrington Bush, if you guys like Kendall Hunter, you'll like Carrington Bush. A lot of speed and his suddenness. Start, stop, unquestioned. He is a dynamite playmaker. I like Carrington Bush. The wide receivers, though, you got to look at, they have, some speed back there. These guys can get deep. They got a lot of speed. And they got a great offensive line. So that offense at Texas State is pretty set.
On defense, 15 stops behind the line of scrimmage for their DN, Travis Houston, Marcus Clark, their go-to linebacker, and Iowa State transfer they're going to rely on as a cornerback, Drenard Williams, because they lost a lot in the second.
Yeah, that pass defense will prove to be a liability. They're going to struggle a little bit. The linebackers, they have some experience with linebacker and as well as that cornerback. But also you want to look at the defense gives up a lot of points, 31 points a game, 4.6 yards a carry. They have to improve overall in San Marcos if they want to get their team at the top of the conference.
Let's move over to Louisiana, where McNeese State Cowboys hail. Matt Viator, 7-4 last year. He's going to enter his 4th this season. Only 6 back on offense and only 3 on defense. Derek Foro, the quarterback, though, sick numbers, 2,200 yards, 18 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Todd Pendlin, over 1,400 yards rushing, 12 touchdowns, and 6.5 yards per carry, but they lost 3 all-league offensive linemen.
That's the big key because they're going to struggle on that offensive line. You look at Pendlin, who's also one of the best receivers on the team as well, too. So he's a total package. He's a versatile player. He's dynamite in the run game, spectacular in the passing game. Foro is going to be a really good quarterback. The question is, can they protect both those guys?
On defense, linebacker Deron Miner leads the way, and they bring in 2 transfers in the secondary, Sean Sullivan, cornerback from Nebraska, and a safety, Devin Holland, Tulsa transfer. to help out strong safety Daryl Jenkins, who is their best secondary.
Yeah, that secondary has some really good players on that side of the ball and in that back half of the defense. The defensive coordinator Herbert is going to have to move some pieces around, plug some holes. Because there's a lot of holes on that defense. You lose 3 starters. The defense, you lose 8 starters on that defense. They gave up 29 points a game last year. That's tough.
Let's move over to the Lumberjacks of Stephen F. Austin. Great mascot name, by the way. J.C. Harper, 5th year. He was 4-8 last year. Good thing is they got 9 back on offense, 9 on defense. So this is a pretty experienced team. Jeremy Moses, almost 600 attempts through the air. That was good enough for over 4,000 yards, 41 touchdowns compared to 20 interceptions. Dwayne Brooks was newcomer of the year, his favorite target at wide receiver. Good thing is 4 returning offensive linemen protecting Moses.
2 questions. Can they find a running back? They're going to need to find somebody to run the ball to ease the pain of that passing game. Also, they have some explosive wide receivers. I love their wide receivers. If they can cut back on, if Moses can cut back on those 20 interceptions, I know they toss the ball around a lot, and so you're going to have interceptions when you throw it 70% of the time, but he still has to cut down on those interceptions. This is a scary team on offense with that veteran offensive line. They got to find a running back, though.
On defense, linebacker Jabara Williams was a first-team All-Leaguer, over 130 tackles, 3 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, and 3 picks. He's joined by Derek Choice and, get this, first-team defensive end Tim Nicky, 20.5 stops on the opposite line of scrimmage. He gets in the backfield.
Yeah, he had 12 sacks last season, so he's a terror coming off the end, a real good pass rusher. Their defense gave up 34 points a game. It was shootout city in Texas last year. They have to slow that down. 4.5 yards a carry, 64% completion percentage. So that secondary has to improve. But they do get Nicky back. They do get the good linebackers as well. But that secondary has to step up. They have to show up that defense because they have an explosive offense. If they can get that defense at least 20 points a game, they're going to be dangerous in the Southland Conference.
Let's move over to Sam Houston State, the Bearkats. Todd Whitten, 5th season, entering 4-6 last year. 7 on offense return, but only 3 on defense. You might remember a guy named Rhett Bomar, the quarterback. He got drafted. James Astendal, 11 touchdowns. He's back. And second team, Hunter Schmidt.
Well, they lose their top quarterback and their top wide receiver, so expect that offense to take 3 steps back because those were 2 good players that they lost. You want to look at James Austin, 11 touchdowns, a really good running back. They're going to lean on him a little bit more. My question is, can they find a guy to replace Rhett Bomar? You look at Chris Lucas, he's the top receiver. He's one of the good receivers that they have. My thing is they have to find a quarterback. That's the biggest question right there. And they give up too many sacks. Even though they return all 4 starters on that offensive line, those linemen give up way too many sacks. They got to tighten that pass blocking up.
You don't know if that's a good thing, all 4.
Exactly. Exactly.
On defense, they went from 24 points per game to 33 points per game last year. This is a problem. Texas transfer, first-team defensive end Chris Brown had 9 sacks. That's a bright spot. And middle linebacker Luke McCall. They need to shore up this defense, allow a lot less points than they did last season.
Well, Chris Brown is the only standout on that defense. But you look at, they lost a lot of key players across the board. That's going to be tough to fill. And you want to know if they're going to get better. And the secondary also will be an inexperienced bunch. There's a lot of new faces back there in the secondary. So this defense is going to have some growing pains.